Hi, welcome to today's presentation about creating donor reports that your leaders will love. What we're going to be looking at today are advanced reporting extensions for Blackbaud Razor's Edge NXT. That means, if you're familiar with Razor's Edge, there are lots of reporting options within Razor's Edge Web View and Database View. What we're looking at today are options that you can use to take it one step further with third-party tools that plug directly into Razor's Edge very seamlessly. Our presenters today are Jeremy Ball, who is the Assistant Vice President for Advancement Services at Bowling Green State University, who undertook what I consider an epic project to do very specific reporting that they needed for their advancement department, and Andrew Urban, who's a Senior Director of Market Development at Zuri Group. Zuri Group is a Blackbaud partner that worked with Bowling Green State University on this project. Right now, I'm going to turn you over to Andrew Urban from Zuri Group, who will take us forward.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for joining in today. We are going to walk through a little bit about what Aqueduct and what reporting is and the options that she discussed. And then I'm very excited to be introducing Jeremy for the second half of the presentation today. Since the advent of NXT a number of years ago, the reporting options have not just changed and grown, but completely revolutionized about what is available and what can be done through Razor's Edge and through Razor's Edge NXT. You have an amazing array of options depending on what level of reporting is necessary for your organization, for the stakeholders, and what they really are hoping to see from the data, whether that is Razor's Edge only data, whether that's incorporating that data with other data types throughout your university or nonprofit or hospital, or any time, or whatever the stakeholders, whatever view the organization might want to see out of that data. In the original days, you would get a report and your database administrator would go into the database view, which I still love, by the way, you can, and many of us do, but the NXT has truly given us a freedom through the APIs to create these connectors and data warehouses and other means to find a way to report within advanced business intelligence tools in a way that has never happened before for Razor's Edge clients. And it's truly been an exciting number of years. The options that are available for clients on Razor's Edge NXT include an array of solutions. eSimple IT, Mission BI, Zuri Group, CData. These are just a portion of the groups that are out there doing great work through the Blackbaud Partner Program that extend the capabilities of the Blackbaud's Insight Designer that's available within NXT. And one of the things that you'll notice as we talk about this today is, do you need a data warehouse or do you need a data connector? Are you looking for NXT only data, or a complete view of your data that's both NXT and data and database view data information fields? And that really does create a delineation of what kind of solution that you might want, and whether or not you need to be a little more sophisticated with the type of work you're going to undertake, or if certain other tools are exactly right for you. There really isn't one particular right answer for across the board. And I do encourage you to look at the different options that are out there for you to make sure that for your size organization and what the stakeholders are looking to do, that you're getting the right tool for the right job for your organization. And thankfully, Blackbaud has cultivated a number of partners to make that work for you. And we at Zuri Group are appreciative of being one of those. So I do want to start with a tool, because I mentioned that idea of business intelligence tools. And for some, they're readily understand of what that is and are great, we're in this and we're doing it. Others might say, well, what does that really mean? And what are these tools? And so I have a question here. So please go ahead and submit your answer here. Is everything from, I am an experienced user of these kind of tools, to I'm just really getting started and I'd like to learn more. So I'd greatly appreciate you putting in your answers there. I see people starting to add that in. We're at 50 already. That's great. We'll give it a few more seconds. We do have, like, I think out of the 85 plus people at Zuri Group, I think we have 4 employees who are former Jeopardy people. So in honor of them, I should do the Jeopardy music, but I'm going to not do that for the sake of everyone else. But it is fun to actually talk to people who've done that before. I think we're at 50%, so I'll go ahead and hit to the next slide as people continue to add in. So it does look like we have an audience, and this is not unheard of. I mean, within the Razor's Edge NXT world, we have so many good options kind of within Razor's Edge NXT. Now, this is a great start to look and say, hey, I'm looking to see what is out there. So as we go through the process here today, hopefully by the end of this, if you're here and looking to learn more, the plan is hopefully we've really shown you some options of what can be for your organization. Thank you very much for participating in the poll. So how does Aqueduct fit into these range of options? Aqueduct is a tool that creates a data warehouse. What is a data warehouse? It's literally an outside database of all of your data that can be created on a server of your choice that you can host anywhere you'd like, and allows you to report with any particular tool that might be out there. Power BI, Tableau, Click, these are just options of the kind of business intelligence tools that allow you to create very sophisticated reports. And with Aqueduct as well, we allow you to integrate third-party data sources. Clients of Aqueduct utilize third-party data sources like financial systems if they're not using Financial Edge NXT. It could be PeopleSoft, it could be any Sage, it could be any kind of solution like that. At a university, it could be particular areas of student information data. At a hospital, it could be grateful patient information. These are all examples of, it could be donor enrichment data. It could even be bringing in engagement data from email statistics, open statistics, or fundraising statistics. All of those data points are elements that if you want to start getting a complete 360-degree view of how individuals are associated with an organization, you could start to see that within a true business intelligence tool like we're discussing, and get an idea of how each part of your organization interacts and impacts the other. That's the power of what business intelligence can do for you, that then helps you drive decision making with true data. What we hear clients say all the time are things like this. Our fundraisers love Razor's Edge NXT, and through the fundraisers and them doing their work, we're getting more engagement than we've ever seen. We're getting more data about the people that we're raising money from than we've ever seen before. And typically that starts to say is more data plus more sophisticated stakeholders, like the kind of data points I mentioned a minute ago, equals the need for more sophisticated reporting requirements. You may be asked, a lot of times what we hear is, okay, well, I have all this data in Razor's Edge NXT. I'll pull all that data out into Excel, and I'll start to then merge it with some exports from somewhere else. And next thing you know, when it's time for board level reporting, I've spent 4 days trying to maneuver a number of Excel documents in order to create charts that display the information that our team is looking for. And that's really difficult. What a tool like Aqueduct allows you to do is short circuit all that, so those reports are refreshed on a nightly basis and automatically there and waiting for you, so that you can then manipulate them as needed on an ad hoc basis, rather than trying to recreate everything from the beginning each time the need arises. And I think the reporting can be, as we see a lot, a very sore sticking point. I need this to happen, and it's so hard to do all these things, to pull all this together, that sometimes people say, well, maybe we should change CRMs. And from a Zuri Group consulting standpoint, our message is, let's fix the problem. Let's not worry about changing a CRM where we're getting more the fundraise. It's really working for the fundraisers just because we have a reporting question and a reporting issue. and Aqueduct, and including some of the other solutions, enable that for your organization and allow you to take all the goodness of what your fundraisers are getting out of Razor's Edge NXT and marry that to what the stakeholders are looking for, which is what I mentioned, that student data integration, that patient data, perhaps financial or ticketing system data. And that's what what we get excited about, is how to help organizations pull that together. So Aqueduct does three things that become your data warehouse. When NXT was created, the Sky APIs, which we've all probably heard of, but not really understood how they work and what they do, it allows for a direct connection between your Blackbaud database and other systems. But it is truly only a portion of the overall data. If an element is not within NXT, then that does not have a corresponding API. So if you do want to report on that, it's still something you probably have to go back to the database view in order to do. Inside the database view, there are particular fields that you can view, but not necessarily report on, because they're created within a separate area within Razor's Edge in the database view. Aqueduct seamlessly pulls all those elements together to create one modern SQL database that is a complete view of your Razor's Edge data. And that's something that's extremely exciting, because it allows for you to understand and see without having to deal with all the complexity of pulling all these things together in order to have the reporting that you really need. Just a short, brief overview of the technical side of these things. Aqueduct is also something that never goes inside. None of your data ever goes through Zuri Group. Aqueduct is truly an aqueduct. It's the sluice of data that pulls the water of your data from the Blackbaud cloud through to your hosted source and directs to create the warehouse of your data that allows you to then start to create the business intelligence and reports that you'll see from what Jeremy was able to do, and then the additional data sources. So it really is a simple solution that allows for the data just to pull from one area, and it makes it extremely easy for your IT department from a security standpoint, because you're not authorizing another cloud vendor to manage and see your data. And we do like to be very transparent with regards to cost for this data warehouse. And it is based on the record tiers that are the same as your Razor's Edge NXT database. So by your record tier, we look at it and we say, okay, well, if you have up to 100,000 records in your Razor's Edge NXT record count, then your cost would be that $7,500 per year. And then there's a one-time implementation cost. We do, it is an additional cost to your Blackbaud subscription fee. It does require you to have the Q module. And then we would work with you on a hosting location. For example, if you would host that on premise at your nonprofit, Microsoft Tech for Social Impact also has grants that would allow for the hosting spot on Microsoft Azure to be free. And that's something that we have information for that we can help with. And then the licensing of a business intelligence tool like Power BI or Tableau, et cetera. But from a cost perspective, this is how this basically works, and we're happy to kind of work with you and answer any questions. And as I do mention, this gets asked a lot, we can co-term the subscriptions to your Blackbaud contract and make that nice and simple as well. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a background on how a data warehouse works compared to a data connector, how you're able to look at and see the options of the reports that are available to you, and kind of what the uniqueness of what Aqueduct does. And I think at least it gives you a bit of an abstract. Now I think you'll see it in a more tangible form with what Jeremy is able to provide here. So I am going to introduce now Jeremy Ball, the Assistant Vice President for Advancement Services at Bowling Green State University. And I'm very appreciative of his time here today. Jeremy, I will let you take it over from here.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. I'm glad to be here with everyone. Just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Jeremy Ball, the Assistant Vice President for Advancement Services at Bowling Green State University. I've been here with BGSU for just over 2 years now, but I have been in higher education for 20 years now at this point in time, and almost all of that in the advancement services area. I've actually been working with Razor's Edge now for about 10-ish years. Was the first time that I started working with Razor's Edge. So excited to be with you and to tell you a little bit more about how we use Aqueduct with Razor's Edge. Also, just so you know a little bit about Bowling Green State University, if you are not familiar, we are a high research, nationally ranked comprehensive university with about 20,000 students. We're located in Northwest Ohio in what has been voted one of America's best college towns, Bowling Green, Ohio. So excited to speak with you and hope to answer some of your questions as we go throughout the rest of this presentation. Just to give you a little background where we started, our partnership with Zuri really started with the concept of doing a database conversion. And as we were doing that, moving to Razor's Edge NXT, we had to really do an analysis of our current reporting situation in our older system. When we did that, we really realized in looking at, we had over 4,000 custom reports that were turned on and enabled and being used every day in some way. Those reports, by and large, were all just Excel spreadsheets that were pulled out of the system with different pieces of information and different data. They were almost all emailed out on some sort of a regular interval to all of the constituents across campus. As we began looking, we really realized we lacked a solid inventory of the reports and a way to manage who those recipients were. For example, we found a number of reports that were continuing to run and continuing to email to inactive email addresses because those former employees had left the university. And so this report was always running, but getting sent to no one. We also found that we had a lot of reports that were supposed to be the same that over time had diverged. For example, we had one the stewardship report that we sent out. We had 80 different versions of this same report that was supposed to be the same report that over time they had all gone in separate routes, had a field added here, a field removed there, some small criteria. So we couldn't look at these consistently and understand what all they were doing. And additionally, just as I mentioned earlier, because these were all spreadsheets, there was no way for the users to interact with the reports or make changes. If anybody wanted an adjustment, a new field added, an adjustment, date ranges changed, whatever the case may be, they had to come to the advancement services team and make those change requests, and we had to go in and change those manually. So things were very static and not super user-friendly. While they did a good job, it wasn't really where we wanted to be in the year, at that time, 2021. So fast forward now, we've gone through our conversion. We went live in Razor's Edge this past November, and we have begun working with all of our new reports. We've moved into an Aqueduct environment utilizing Microsoft Power BI as the environment that we have here at Bowling Green. And we've developed a number of new reports. Going through that process, we really had to identify what reports are really needed. And we were able to cut those 4,000 reports down to a priority of 100 specific reports that we really needed to make sure we maintained our day-to-day operations and gave people the information that they needed. This new reporting tool with Power BI, as kind of Andrew alluded to, allows people to interact with reports and utilize their own filters and selections. And I've got a few examples that I will show you of how that can work, but people can get in and add filters, make choices, adjust date ranges, whatever really we decide to be able to give them, they're able to change and work with on the report to customize the report and make it work for them. Again, kind of along with those lines, we can utilize one report for multiple purposes now. I mentioned that stewardship report earlier where we had 80 different versions. We've been able to take that is now a single report once again, and with just the different filters that we are able to help people set up, they can see the information that is specific to their area of campus versus seeing everything that everyone needs. But from our point of view, we're able to manage and maintain this as a single report instead of 80. Microsoft Power BI, as many of the other BI tools do, allows you to add visualizations and graphs so people can look at some of the reports and get a better snapshot quicker than they have been able to do with a spreadsheet in the past. Improved ability of the team to access all of this is cloud-based at this point in time in some manner. And people can access this on campus, off campus, on their computer, on their phones. They have access to the information, so we can do a better job of hopefully becoming that data-driven organization that all of us want to become. And then again, it provides more flexibility while increasing the security that we have to be able to manage all of this. So this is the new environment that we're in and what we have tried to do. Next, I'd love to just kind of walk through a few samples of some of the reports that we have developed utilizing Aqueduct and Power BI, and just talk through a little bit of how they are used here on campus. This first report doesn't look like much when you first see it, but this is our self-service report. And really what this is a tool we're really pleased with. This gives all of our users the ability to do their own selection of information. We've taken this front screen, and this screen is really just a bunch of filters, and it allows the user to just come in and select some of the key pieces that they need each and every day. So they start with their list. Our database right now is about 494,000 records. They start with that information, with that full list, and then they can add filters to pull the information down. Their categories or their constituency codes, they can select, I only want to see alumni, or I only want to see friends. They can pull what country they live in, state, for example. They can add to that then information about which degrees they received, or when they've had a recent contact, or if they have made any gifts to specific funds. Whatever the case may be, they can the user can come in and select all of this information, and then once they move off of this tab that they have here, they will get their list of all of their information. It does ask them then too, if they want this for a mailing list, an email list, is this a solicitation, is this just an event notification? A handful of options based off of what they select there. The system then provides them a list that they can download and use for their mailing or use for whatever communication they needed to, even if it's just their informal internal use only. That was a way for us to, again, give all of our users better, quicker access to information so that they don't have to put in a request, wait for somebody to run a query, and then get all of the data back to them. They have access to all of this information at the forefront, while at the same time, we were able to build in those safeguards to be able to say, if the donor, if they select that this is for a mailing and the donor has said they don't want to receive mail from us, it will automatically pull that donor information out of the mailing. So we're able to kind of protect the information while giving users better access to the data. So this is one that has been in use for a little bit. We get requests all the time. Can we add more filters? Can we do different things here? And as you can see, the screen is pretty well filled up, but we're constantly looking for new ways to improve this, to continue to give our user base here on campus more access to their information so that they can just be more efficient in their time and in the way they work and they operate. Next, I just kind of wanted to show a little bit about how we've been able to make some changes, and I apologize for the big whiteout area, but wanted to protect all of our constituent and donor information. But this is an example of what our original daily gift report looked like. Like I said, it was basically a spreadsheet, just had the basic information on there so you could see who made a gift, how much it was. If you continued to scroll, you would see which fund that went to, any other information about that. But this was the way that we would send this report obviously out on a daily basis. People would know what gifts have been entered recently. They could track the gifts that came to their area. If they wanted to use it to contact a donor to thank them, all of that information was right here. What we found is many of the different colleges and units across campus liked using this report, but they really only wanted to see certain pieces of information. They didn't necessarily, especially some of the deans or other university leadership, didn't necessarily want to see each and every donor. They just wanted to see basic information. So what we've been able to do now with Aqueduct and Power BI is this is our front page for our new daily gift report. And as you can see, it has now changed. So it's not just the spreadsheet, but it gives a quick summary of what happened that day as far as gifts. How many gifts were entered that day? How many donors does that account for? What is the total amount that was raised on that day? What was the largest gift? What's the average gift size? We put this chart in here so you can kind of break that down based off of their primary constituency code. How much came from alumni? How many were from friends, corporations, donor advised funds, whatever the case may be. You can now see all of this information. And what's great about tools like this is I can actually click into any of these areas. And if I wanted to know this information about the friends, I apologize, I can't do it here. It's not interactive right now, but in our real system it is. I could click on this and all of this information would change to only show the information selected as part of the friends. So the total amount from friends, how many gifts from friends, how many donors, largest gift, average gift. So I can, again, interact with the data, see the information I'm most interested in a quicker snapshot way that is easier for me to comprehend and make decisions based off of. That said, we then did go ahead and add page 2, which looks very similar to our original list, but we knew that people needed that full list of donors. They needed that list of information. So they get that summary page, and then they can click over if they are interested in and see who all of the donors were. They can click, scroll over and see which specific funds, how they gave to, so that they can do their stewardship. They can still make their phone calls if they're interested in that. They can sort any of these by any of the columns. You can resort it, whether it's by donor name, by gift amount, whatever they want to be able to do, they can kind of redo that sort. And any filters that they applied on the first tab, if I were to go back one, any of these filters, if I clicked on friends, for example, when I click over into my second tab, I would only see the information from friends. This is also great because this report is live and refreshed all of the time. I can go back, and if I needed to, if I missed a day, if I didn't get to look at it yesterday or the day before, I can change my date range, and I can make this daily gift report show me information for a wider range of dates and then the donors along with it. Still seeing the summarized and get the list then afterwards. This is a report that we were particularly excited about being able to work with, and are continuing to find new ways to incorporate this. But this is a report that we have put together for our top 10 metro regions by donation amount. We have a similar one for just our alumni count. But this was a particular report we worked really closely with Zuri on. They helped provide us with information about all of the zip codes in all of the different metro areas. We were able to incorporate that into our Aqueduct database and then generate this report by combining our data with this metro region data in order to be able to look at this and understand where our donors are, where our constituents are currently living, and what that might look like, and be able to map that here in this report. We were able to utilize this to provide information to our president's office about what are our top 10 regions by donation amount, by alumni count, by number of prospects, and combine all of that different information, look at it in this report. Our team is now asking us, and we're trying to figure out ways to incorporate it. Can I have some of this metro region data incorporated into that self-service? We'll see if we can get there, but those are tools that we now have access to and available to us that we're able to do. And again, the nice part is here is not only do I have the summary of what are those top 10 regions, I have the constituent listing over here on the left side. So I can actually see who those constituents are and where they are located. And again, with each of these different orange dots that are on the map, I can click on them, and that filters the rest of the data so that I can understand if I was really interested, oh, what's this up here in Detroit? I can click on that and I can see who those people are and what information it's counting there. So again, I can interact and drill down and get to a better understanding of the information that already exists in our system. We just didn't have a way to get to before. Our team is loving these types of reports and this type of information. Continuing on, this is a report that we created for our 1 day. Many of you probably have days of giving as well. This 1 day is what we call our day of giving that we do each year. We were able to take a lot of that information, kind of combine it and put this into these snapshots for our team members to be able to look at. This particular one is looking at first-time donors. It gives you the counts here that everybody's used to seeing at the very top. How many first-time donor households did we have this year? Falcon Flames, for us, that's a fun. Those are our alumni married to other alumni that we are able to track how many gifts that came in and what the dollars are. I can look, obviously, like I said, we've incorporated our map functionality so we can kind of see where some of these gifts came from. We're able to incorporate looking at the funds, who gave to what funds and how much did they give to, dividing that up instead of individual funds by fund types. So we can look at, again, where is most of our giving going to and what drove most of this fundraising, how many counts, how many head of households, and just really be able to look at and understand this donor or this information. We've been able to take this not only for first-time donors, for all of our donors, for our alumni, and break down this information in the same way. And again, we can continue to grow this, add filters, but this just gave such a clear, easy snapshot to our annual giving team so that they could look at this, see what they were trying to get, and what that might look like as far as how this how we did on our 1 day. As you can see, at least with our first-time donors, our athletics fundraising was a big driver for much of that. So it just helped to highlight some of these features that maybe we knew anecdotally from just what came in, but it really helped to kind of prove that point, to make the case for what we were doing and what worked well and maybe what didn't work so well as it came to our fundraising results. Finally, we incorporated some of our plan giving in here. And again, I apologize, this white section here is normally filled out with donor information, but this is all of our plan giving expectancies for the entire system. And again, this gives our plan giving and our foundation accounting office the ability to just kind of get in at any point in time, see what our plan giving expectancies look like, see how many we have, see how much that dollar total raised, what types of gift vehicles we're looking at. And again, the filters are the piece that for us is the really driving factor that people really love and really love to be able to work with. People can come down here, and again, if I just want to see bequest information, I click on the bequest and all of this information refilters to just show me those plan gift expectancies that are from bequest. I have the ability over here, if I was looking at just a particular fund, I wanted to know how much was going to come into the Andrew Urban Fund. I would be able to do that and select that and see all of the plan gifts that are associated with there. If I need to know what status this is, how many of these plan gifts are in probate, how many are still in identification stage, or wherever that may be, I have those statuses. I can select that information to, again, just drill down and see better information about what I'm trying to work with and trying to do. We have a number of others. Like I said, in total, we identified about 100 different reports that we needed to develop in order for us to go live this past November. We were able to develop all of those. Some of those we even grouped down further into to workbooks or dashboards so that we don't have 100 different Power BI files that are out there. Many of them are grouped together, and we're continuing to work with this. This is working with these tools is really newer to us in our area. We have some great staff in our ITS office and some business analysts and developers here in the University Advancement team that really have done a great job working with Aqueduct and Power BI to develop these reports. But this utilizing these tools was new for us when we went live. So we're really excited about the progress that we've already made, and we're really looking forward as we continue to learn more about how we can better use Power BI and utilize these tools, and how we can better train and teach all of the staff across campus to be able to work with these tools. We're really excited about where we're heading and what the future looks like for us. With that, I think that is kind of coming back towards the end. Andrew, are there questions that I can answer, or
there are some questions. So I have a few. I'm gonna ping to you here. I think you've answered one of these. Is what business intelligence tool are you using to create these reports?
Correct, and I think I've said that, but we do use Microsoft Power BI. That was a university-wide decision a few years ago, and so we've been kind of moving into that direction as a university, but we in University Advancement were really able to leap forward in the last 6 months to a year as we went through our conversion and moved forward with Aqueduct in this way.
Thank you. And another is, how long did the integration take? And how long was the process to do this?
So that's a little harder to say, as we were kind of doing this integration while we were going live with Razor's Edge. So we did our initial integration with Aqueduct and did our initial testing when we did our second test run of our Razor's Edge database conversion. So the integration itself was pretty straightforward and quick. We were one of the earlier adopters of Aqueduct, and so we've been able to work closely with Zuri to talk through, hey, we would love a little bit more help here, or a little bit more help there, and they did help us through that. But it was really the process of actually getting Aqueduct up, I think, was only about a 6 to 8 week process. But that was done for us, like I said, during our second test run. And then in that time between test run 2 and our go live date, we were developing all of those reports. So we stood Aqueduct up. We did developed many, maybe not all, but many of the reports to have those ready to go for go live. And we were probably working on that process while going through the rest of our database conversion. That was probably about 6 to 8 months from our test run 2 to our go live period. But again, the actual standing up of Aqueduct so we could begin to develop those reports was really just a matter of, I think, 6 to 8 weeks for a time period.
The next one for you would be, how many staff have access to these reports?
How many staff? We have currently, we have just about 30 staff in University Advancement that have access to these reports, or to a large number of these reports. We then have probably 60 to 80 staff around campus that also have access to some of these reports. And again, with some of the security that we're able to do, not all of them have full access. So some people have view-only access. They can get in and they can see, and they can work with different filters that we allow for them to use. Other users are able to get in and be a little bit more advanced and work with additional filter levels that we have been able to put in place. So all of these reports vary in different ways. Again, we control who gets to have access to the reports. It's not just open to anyone. We have to kind of share these out with certain individuals. And we're working on even exploring some other options to kind of group some of these. So by a security class, we can say, okay, anybody in this security class will have access to this group of reports, so that, again, to help us better manage the security, manage who has access to this information. We were also able to set it up so that with some of these, like the daily gift report, even though it is kind of the one Power BI report, we were able to subscribe people to the report so they get a daily email reminder. Hey, this report is ready for you to go view. And say they typically would see a screenshot within that email, which if all they wanted to see was that front page information, that's all they need to look at and see. But they can then click in it and actually go into the report and look at the more detailed information there. So we have a lot of people who are subscribed to reports so that they can get that daily reminder that this is out here and ready for you to be able to view and work with.
And I think you just may have answered that question, but the next one was, how often is this data refreshed? And pulling the data from database view, NXT, how often is that refreshed for you?
So that is done on a nightly basis. So every night, there's, as Andrew was kind of explaining the way Aqueduct work, there's a series of queue processes that run to pull some data out of Razor's Edge. The API calls run. We also have, we've been able to incorporate some information from our foundation accounting software system. And we have some data that pulls in from that, all then gets brought into the Aqueduct system. So then all of our reports refresh with that data every morning at around 6 a.m. I think all of that information is updated for our staff. They can go in and look at that report, or the scheduled reports come out a little bit later in the day. That way we have time to catch and resolve any hiccups that might have happened along the way.
I'd like to combine a couple questions in here. There are several questions about Power BI experience or expertise needed. And I think one is the expertise to build the reports themselves, but the other is for the users. Do the users need any experience, or is it difficult for the users to utilize the reports that are created out of Power BI? Do they need any experience?
Yeah.
So I guess both sides of the coin.
Yep. So I'll start with kind of our staff in order to build the reports. As I mentioned, when we started this process, we really only had one staff member who had done any work with Power BI before, and really just one developer on our team. And so we were kind of through this process. We did add a second business analyst to that team so that we now have two people to really kind of work on the development of these reports. There was what I would say kind of a minimal knowledge of Power BI as we were getting started. Like I said, the university, I think just before the COVID pandemic happened, made the decision we were going to move forward with Power BI. And so there had been some training and some information done. And then when COVID hit, a lot of this kind of fell to the wayside and didn't really move forward. So we had done a little bit of work exploring Power BI prior to our conversion, but not a lot. Since then, of course, we've worked with the team has taken some training on Power BI. We did bring in the second business analyst to help with some of that report writing so that they can grow. We also have a partnership. We have two people that are in our central ITS office who are kind of more the Power BI experts here on campus. But what we have been told many times is that we're, on campus at least, we are one of the leaders as far as the usage and adoption of Power BI. So we're excited about where we're going, but we do think we still have a lot to learn about the potential and the capabilities here. We by no means consider ourselves to be experts in this. As part of that process, if you're doing the math, you can say we had really just two people to develop the reports, and we had about 6 months with 100 reports that needed to be developed. We did work with Zuri Group, and they helped us with the development of some of the reports. Most of what you saw here were reports that we did do internally, but they did help with some of our report development as well. As far as the end user, the people who are using this on a daily basis, I would say it's really been a wide variety. Some people love it. They picked up on it right away. They downloaded the app on their phone. They're using it. They're getting into this. They understand the filters and they know what they're doing. Others, we've had to do a little bit more training. We've worked with them to help them make sure that they understand what they're seeing, what they're capable of. I think all of them were able to get in and see the report quickly and easily and see what they're looking at. But for some, it took a little longer to understand what the capabilities really were, to be able to drill down or to drill through certain areas and what that meant. To be, to understand what happened when I clicked on the screen and all of a sudden my screen changed, to just know what they did and kind of how to undo that. But as we went live, we incorporated this into our go live training so that all of our staff was able to get in, to get access to the reports, to understand what they were going to be. And by and large, we've really had what I think was a very successful conversion into this. Our biggest issue as we were going live was people bookmarked reports, and then when it was in a dev mode, and then when we moved it over to the live mode, the URL changed, and they were still going to the old URL because they had bookmarked it. So that was just some of our go live function of how we were developing and then publishing reports for live use as we were working through that. But that was a pretty simple piece to kind of work our way through.
There are a couple different questions around the difference between what you can do with Power BI and the data that Aqueduct is able to pull for you and create in the data warehouse, and what is in the Insights Designer standard reports. Could you talk a little to the decision that the university made with regards to moving into the data warehouse side of things, as opposed to, or in using in conjunction with Insights Designer, perhaps?
Yeah. So I think that the reason we decided to go with a tool like Aqueduct and Power BI is it has provided us with just, I think, a little bit more customizability, if that's a word, in order to be able to work with the system. As we looked with the Insights Designer, it's a great tool, and we do utilize it for some reports, and I think it's a tool that's continuing to grow. But there were some very specific kind of custom pieces that we do with our data that just weren't available to us in the Insight Designer at this point in time. And so that was, a driving factor to help. The other piece was that ability to combine data from other data sources. Like I said, with being able to do this, the map that I showed earlier, we were able to combine data from an outside source of all of those metro regions and all of the zip codes that make up those metro regions in the Aqueduct tool that would not have been available in the Insight Designer. We've also, like I said, been able to pull our accounting, some of the information from our accounting system into Aqueduct, so we can utilize that. So we can kind of have some of our fund data health checks, so we can make sure that the way a fund is coded in Razor's Edge matches the way it's coded over in our accounting software. So that way, when gifts pass back and forth, we don't have issues with errors in that regard. So those additional kind of pieces of flexibility were part of the reason that we made that determination. We've also utilized Aqueduct to, again, do custom formulas of things that we need in order to get the reporting the way we want it to do, what we want it to be. So we have developed some custom fields within Aqueduct and within our Power BI data set to make sure that every time this is used, it's done the same way on any of the reports, instead of having to do something custom on each individual report. So hopefully that answers your question, but that's part of the reason we decided to go this route versus just using Insight Designer.
Jeremy, I think that was wonderful. And I think we've answered quite a number of questions. I think we're ready to kind of move to the end here.
Very good.
I do want to just put up and say thank you to you so much for your time, and being able to work with you and the university has absolutely been a pleasure, and we're truly thankful for you all. for Blackbaud, Catherine and Michael, thank you for your time. These are the various ways you can find Zuri Group online via LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the socials on our website. And so I think that is all we have for the day. Appreciate everyone being here today.